Comfort zone. You've heard people say you need to get out of your comfort zone, right? Because you feel comfortable in it, at ease. There is nothing there to challenge you. But settling for what is comfortable is one of the biggest enemies to our growth. One thing language learning has taught me is this. Improvement happens when you are out of your comfort zone. When you are doing something and it makes you uncomfortable, something you fear. So I see language learning as a tool to improve myself in so many ways. Discover beautiful things in the world otherwise gone unnoticed. I can confidently say that learning languages made my life so much better. Besides the joy of learning a language, it helped me step out of my comfort zone in a big way. You need to understand the concept of comfort zone and try to step out of it in order to succeed in language learning. This is essential. Comfort zone is a metaphorical area in which you are comfortable and things are familiar. It doesn't have to be pleasant to be in your comfort zone. Doing 100 grammar drills is not pleasant, but it may be in your comfort zone. Going out there and trying to speak in the language you are not very familiar with is out of your comfort zone. And the area around your comfort zone is the learning zone. This is the area you leave for growth. Growth is out of your comfort zone and takes place in the learning zone. Trying to speak with not so perfect grammar is in your learning zone. Putting yourself out there to speak the language only after 2 months of learning is out of your comfort zone. I know jumping out of your comfort zone is challenging, but it is rewarding because all good things are waiting for you outside of it. So look at language learning as an opportunity to jump out of your comfort zone and make your life better. If you don't feel like putting the effort in for learning the language, do it for growth. This way of thinking will get you forward in the hard days of learning. It is not only growth, but joy also takes place out of your comfort zone. Don't let fear of what people say or fear of failure and shame keep you from achieving your goals. You need to recognize these fears and deal with them. Be willing to make mistakes. Know you are going to succeed. Did you learn your mother language? Then you are a linguistic genius. You did it once and there is no reason not to do it again. But you are telling me that you are older now. Well, according to research, as adults we are much better learners than kids, as opposed to the myth that kids are better learners. Research comparing children to adults has consistently demonstrated that adolescents and adults perform better than young children under controlled conditions, only with the exception of pronunciation. First of all, because children need smaller vocabularies and simpler syntax than adults, the standard of fluency for children is lower. A child does not have to learn as much as an adult to achieve communicative competence. So there is a big difference between a kid's and an adult's goals. They learn the language for different reasons. Since children need much smaller vocabularies and simpler syntax than adults, they seem to acquire the language faster. But in fact, their goal is smaller, so it is an illusion. Secondly, while kids are learning everything from scratch, adults have a greater conceptual understanding of language. They are more adept at finding patterns, which means they are more skilled at deducing and applying language rules. While it may take 1,000 exposures for a kid to learn one language pattern, an adult can make sense of it and acquire it in a matter of a few days. So jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. There is no other way of building wings. Language schools. As someone who loves languages, I had experience in a few language schools and classes in college. And since I'm interested in the subject, I also studied the schools apart from the languages. I observed how they run the business and how their teachers work and help you. As a result of this, I can tell you what to expect and what not to expect from language schools. Most people believe that if they go to a language school for enough time, the teachers there will magically put the language skills into their brains. They are convinced that the more lessons they go to, the faster and better they will learn. What they need to tell you in those language schools is this: languages are learned. They cannot be taught. If a learner puts enough energy into learning, he or she will realize they have control over their learning outcomes. You have to do almost everything yourself, and it is actually much more fun. Relying on teachers will slow you down and it will make the process boring. Each hour you spend in the classroom is consumed with group instructions, waiting for others, hearing incorrect language from your fellow students. You are better off spending that time on your own. And lessons are geared to the general learner without taking into account your learning styles and needs. A one-size-fits-all approach is extremely ineffective in language learning. In language schools and classes, the teacher sets the pace, not you. You are supposed to work towards the objective of the teacher, not your own personal objectives. And as a result, the classes will move as slowly as the slowest student. Most of the time, it will be too slow and ineffective. Also, the curriculum will be too strict, whereas language learning should be flexible, not strict like a math class. From my own experience, I can tell you that some schools are not good at measuring your level in the language because they think grammar is more important than other aspects, or do the measurement in a very unnatural way. So they might put you in a class where you don't even belong. Teachers focus on remembering rules and words, not on developing communication skills. They can explain to you grammar and words, but conversation can't be taught. You need to learn it. In other words, you need to acquire it yourself. And the only way to acquire it is using the language in your life. The problem we have is we see language learning as a task, in the same category as science classes or as a boring subject to study. It in fact belongs to the real world, not to the classroom. It is not something you open books and study for hours and learn for the exam, or store in your mind until the exam. Language learning is not an academic subject. It is part of the real world. Classroom is not a productive environment for learning the natural language. You get to hear unnatural speech from fellow students all the time. The practices they make you do them with other students, and it does not help you in the long run. Teachers can only help you understand how the language works. They can explain the patterns in grammar. They can tell you about the usage of words and peculiarities. They can give you explanations on words and warn you about common mistakes made by students. And they can motivate you, if it is a good school. They can make you like the language more. And these benefits of the language schools are undeniable. These are the advantages and disadvantages of language schools and language classes in college. I'm not saying it's not worth it to go to a language school, but I'm trying to tell you what to expect and what not to so that you spend your money and time wisely, and plan according to your priorities.